Welcome, curious minds, to the Uncanny Valley podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're embarking on a really extraordinary journey, I think. We're pulling back the veil on this collection of frankly unsettling sources. We've got before us what you can only really describe as a fascinating compendium of dark secrets, hidden conflicts, and a reality that's, well, it's far stranger than most people could ever imagine.
That's putting it mildly.
Our mission, as always, is to navigate this really intricate web of information, try to extract the most crucial insights, and maybe illuminate some of the truly surprising facts waiting inside.
Indeed. And these sources, they detail a world where the unnatural isn't just some campfire story, right? It's a chilling, pervasive force.
Yeah.
We're looking at scenarios that span from, like, clandestine government operations, deep black stuff, all the way to ancient, mind-bending evils, even insidious abstract threats, things you can barely wrap your head around.
Right.
It's really a journey into these hidden battles that, fundamentally shape our understanding of existence itself. And we'll explore not just what these horrors are, but maybe more importantly, why they matter to our perception of reality.
Okay, so buckle up, everyone, because we're about to delve into a reality that might just make you question everything you thought you knew. Let's unpack this. So our first stop takes us right into the heart of government secrecy, places where the very act of trying to control the unknown, well, it often backfires. Spectacularly, it seems.
Yeah, disastrously.
We're looking at this really fascinating and deeply disturbing intersection of alien contact and human ambition, specifically from a scenario our sources call PX Poker Night, and then there's the historical context from Ex Oblivione. It's hard to look at the hubris, really, of these powerful organizations and the cosmic entities they desperately tried and failed to harness.
What's genuinely illuminating here, maybe terrifying is a better word, is how consistently the human impulse to contain or, even worse, exploit the unnatural.
Right, to weaponize it.
Exactly. It becomes the catalyst for just unimaginable disaster. These sources really highlight the profound arrogance of organizations like MAJESTIC.
Ah, MAJESTIC.
Yeah, this deeply clandestine government entity. They were obsessed, utterly obsessed with recovering and utilizing extraterrestrial technology. And the documents show how that ambition just inevitably unravels into new and horrifying kinds of chaos.
And what an unraveling it was. Let's start with what our sources call the SONNET device and its chilling connection to these entities known as the MiGo.
Okay.
So the Department of Defense had this top-secret project, Moondust, operating under the huge, shadowy umbrella of MAJESTIC.
Right.
Its official mission, the cover story, was foreign aerospace technology recovery. Standard stuff? Maybe.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly. But its true purpose was much, much more dangerous: recover and reverse engineer alien tech. And right at the heart of this covert operation was the SONNET device itself.
And that's precisely where the real horror begins, doesn't it? The SONNET device wasn't just some, inert piece of military hardware. It actually incorporated a crystal of extraterrestrial origin.
Whoa, okay.
And this crystal, our sources confirm this, it was recovered back in 1995 after this horrifying outbreak of widespread madness and graphic violence erupted in this secluded West Virginia community called Cantor's Creek.
Madness and violence, like spontaneous.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And MAJESTIC, in this classic display of their obsession with secrecy, they swiftly covered up the death, the psychological collapse. Officially, they attributed it to an outbreak of mad cow disease.
Mad cow disease? Seriously? For mass violence and insanity?
Yep. Think about that. A whole community driven to murderous insanity, and it's dismissed as a livestock illness. It underscores the depth of their deception.
That's, wow. It reveals not just their desperation for secrecy, but also this almost naive misunderstanding of what they were actually dealing with.
Totally.
The deeper dive into this crystal, that's where it gets really interesting and terrifying. It wasn't just an energy source or some exotic bit of alien tech you could just plug into a circuit board. Our sources reveal it was actually a fragment of a MIGO gate ship.
A gate ship?
Yeah, like a piece of living, or maybe once living, alien biology that had broken loose after being struck by lightning.
Okay, so not technology in our sense at all.
Not really. And this detail highlights this profound and, frankly, catastrophic misunderstanding by MAJESTIC. They were treating what was essentially a sentient or biologically active alien component as just tech, something to be weaponized.
Exactly. And the impact on Platt Air Force Base, where they were studying this thing, it was nothing short of catastrophic.
Right.
Imagine a highly disciplined military installation just slowly rotting from within. The device's emanations, they didn't just make people uneasy, they were like an insidious psychological poison.
Wow.
Our documents detail this escalating paranoia and madness that just permeated the base. It led to mutiny, random acts of horrific violence, even death. Personnel suffered epileptic fits, uncontrollable rages, vivid, disturbing hallucinations.
Good grief.
And get this, some protective helmets, specifically designed to shield the users from these emanations.
Yeah.
They actually became instant death traps during a massive energy surge from the device. Killed the wearers on the spot.
Oh my God.
Individuals like a Major Jones, he descended in a murderous paranoia. And Airman LaCroix became obsessed with his own physical decay, convinced he was rotting alive. The psychological and physical toll on everyone exposed was immense. It shattered minds, loyalties, everything.
It's just a chilling illustration of how easily human attempts to control the alien can backfire, turning their perceived advantage into a source of utter breakdown.
But who are these Miyagas? That name sounds weird.
It is. Our sources describe these alien creatures, also known as the fungi from Yugoth.
Fungi from Yugoth, okay.
Yeah, it gets weirder. As truly ancient and utterly otherworldly, they apparently exist in a multitude of dimensions, only a fraction of which are visible to our, limited senses.
So we only see part of them. Maybe. Or maybe just their interaction with our dimension. They move in what's described as stuttering frames, like they're blinking in and out of our reality from second to second.
That's unsettling.
And they're immune to terrestrial conditions. Radiation, pressure, extreme cold, the vacuum of space. Basically, they can exist almost anywhere. From the surface of Pluto, which they call Yugoth apparently, to the crushing depths of our oceans.
Wow. Okay, so truly alien.
Completely. Their very mode of communication is equally alien, described as complex patterns of bioluminescence, flashing lights in ways we can barely comprehend.
Not exactly speech, then.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And they had this small, clandestine base hidden in an abandoned mine in Platte County, near the Air Force Base.
No.
Not a coincidence, probably.
What were they doing there?
Established to extract what they termed extra-dimensional materials, whatever that means. But their activities went way beyond just resource gathering. Their experiments apparently delved into terrestrial genetics and psychology, including the chilling practice of stealing genetic material from livestock. Maybe that's where the Mad Cow cover story came from.
Huh, maybe.
And most disturbingly, kidnapping unsuspecting humans.
Kidnapping people for experiment?
Looks like it. And our sources indicate that the Greys, the iconic, gaunt alien figures from pop culture,
Yeah.
they were actually manipulated servants of the MAGO, used specifically to assist in freeing their crashed ship, the one that Crystal came from.
So the Greys are like biological robots? Or slaves?
Something like that. It offers this truly terrifying glimpse into the MAGO's real alien intent, which was clearly indifferent, if not outright hostile to human life, and far more complex than Majestic's simplistic military advantage interpretation.
So Majestic's colossal failure with the SONNET device, it ultimately highlights not just a technical blunder, right, but this recurring, almost tragic human flaw.
Yeah, the hubris.
The hubris of trying to fit cosmic horror into a neat little military-industrial complex box. It underscores that some forms of knowledge, especially about living, alien intelligence, they're not meant to be harnessed.
Not at all.
They're forces that, when you misunderstand them, will unravel you, turn your aspirations into sources of madness and self-destruction.
It's pretty much a foundational principle in these hidden conflicts, it seems. Human arrogance in the face of the truly unknown almost always leads to unprecedented and deeply unsettling disaster. It's a lesson we seem doomed to relearn again and again.
Yeah, a profound object lesson, then, in why you just shouldn't mess with things you don't fully comprehend. But if the SONNET device represents this more modern, high-tech failure of human hubris, the legacy of Innsmouth and the Deep Ones reveals that these same tragic pattern, these containment failures, they have a much longer, more insidious history.
Oh, yeah.
Dating back to some of the earliest government encounters with the truly unnatural. This connects to what our sources call ex oblivion and the historical context of that infamous 1928 Innsmouth raid.
Yeah, this is a particularly dark and, frankly, ethically fraught chapter in the hidden history of these conflicts. February 1928, a massive task force, we're talking Treasury agents, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, descends on this decaying, isolated town. Innsmouth, Massachusetts.
Not just a police action, then.
No way. Full-blown military intervention, aimed at seizing 209 individuals described as humans who had interbred with things from the ocean.
Things from the ocean. That's blunt.
It was.
Yep.
This wasn't just rumor. It was a deep, pervasive fear that drove this huge, publicly suppressed operation.
And the mistake, as the Navy apparently called it later, became apparent pretty quickly, didn't it? What made these prisoners so different, so immediately problematic that they couldn't just be treated like ordinary captives?
That's the core of the horror, really. Our sources reveal that while some of these prisoners looked physically human, most exhibited profoundly anomalous biology.
Like what?
Fully functioning gulls, for starters, others strange physiological markers. They were unequivocally referred to as deep ones.
Deep ones, okay.
These weren't just culturally alien beings. Their very physical nature defied human norms.
Oh.
And trying to contain them with conventional methods, it proved disastrous. Within days of their initial capture and movement, these prisoners caused outbreaks of murder, insanity, repeated, terrifying escape attempts.
Wow.
The sheer alienness of their biology and psychology seemed to spread this contagion of horror among their captors.
The government's response sounds like it was, by any measure, absolutely horrific, reflecting this desperate lack of understanding and a complete disregard for even basic human or humanoid rights.
Oh, completely, indeed. December 1929, all these Deep One prisoners were consolidated at this newly acquired patch of land in the desolate Arizona desert. Known officially as Fly Field or by its survey code, UNCAiNNY VAiLLEY, often grimly shortened to YY2.
White, it doesn't sound pleasant.
It wasn't. From 1929 to 1936, these Deep Ones were subjected to just unspeakable experiments. We're talking vivisections, dissecting living beings, and this desperate, crude attempt to study what made a Deep One tick. They were exposed to experimental diseases, chemical agents, even weapons testing. The records paint a truly grim picture, differentiating between test subjects that were human, something else entirely, and somewhere in between.
Horrifying.
They just degraded into states of profound madness or torpor. They only stabilized when placed in saltwater tanks, which starkly underlined their true non-terrestrial nature and the alien environment they needed just to exist.
That sounds like a horrific chapter in human experimentation, blurring the lines of what humanity is willing to do when faced with something truly other. What was Delta Green's connection to this dark legacy?
Right, Delta Green. Our sources indicate that this clandestine organization eventually took over the Deep One research. It was originally started by the Office of Naval Intelligence's subsection P4. They built and ran the Naval Medicine Annex at YY2.
So ONI started it.
Yeah, and P4 even expanded its horrific collection, adding more captives after a Marine Corps raid in Nicaragua in 1933. Shows the expanding global scope of this perceived threat. Later, between 39 and 42, Delta Green stepped in. They ran operations like Operation Lifeguard in France, which involved locating and containing Deep Ones, trying to integrate into coastal communities.
So they were trying to blend in.
Apparently. This reveals this chilling continuum of secret, desperate efforts to understand and contain these threats. The facility itself, YY2, our records show, was eventually moved from Arizona to an unknown location in New Mexico, codename the Ice Cave.
Ice Cave in New Mexico.
Yeah, which later also became the storage site for anomalous remains recovered at Corona, NM, in 1947.
Wait, Corona as in Roswell?
The sources strongly suggest the link, yeah.
Yeah.
A fascinating and deeply unsettling connection.
Wow. So the implication here is profound, isn't it? Trying to capture and study the unnatural, especially beings whose biology and psychology are so fundamentally alien. It's not only fraught with immense ethical horrors, but also immense practical dangers. It consistently leads to unintended spread of the horror and prolonged suffering, not just for the captives, but for the humans involved in their containment and study, corrupting the very institutions designed to protect us.
It underlines this consistent, tragic theme, doesn't it? Attempts to apply conventional scientific or military solutions to fundamentally unnatural phenomena often just exacerbate the problem, turning what was intended as containment into a new, deeper source of horror and moral compromise.
So, if the government's attempts to control these horrors often backfire with these disastrous immediate consequences, what happens when these entities aren't just encountered, but have been quietly festering, influencing human society for centuries?
Right, embedding themselves.
Moving from the clandestine labs of Majestic and the horrors of YY2, we now turn our attention to entities so ancient they've not just appeared, but have literally woven themselves into the very fabric of local legends and communities, twisting entire societies from within.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
These aren't just one-off incidents. They're deep-seated corruptions that rewrite history itself, evolving their strategies for survival and dominance. We'll explore this through Kali Ghati and Hourglass.
Yeah, and these scenarios illustrate how cosmic horrors don't just suddenly erupt. You know, they often lie dormant, slowly, insidiously exerting influence, turning human belief systems, social structures, even our most sacred rituals into instruments of their dark will. It's a slow burn corruption that can be far more pervasive than any sudden violent outbreak.
Let's begin in the remote and rugged Paktika Province, Afghanistan, with the chilling tale of the sleeping god of Kali Ghati.
Okay.
Our sources reveal this mythical Black Valley, or Kali Ghati, that local villagers vehemently deny exists.
Denial is often the first sign, isn't it?
Exactly. Yet, paradoxically, they secretly revere a sleeping god within it, which they call Baba Jan, meaning revered old man. This inherent contradiction, this simultaneous denial and deep reverence, it's itself a telltale sign of something profoundly ancient and hidden, exerting an almost hypnotic influence over an entire community.
Classic pattern. A terrifying example of an ancient entity subtly manipulating human perception and belief over generations. The unveiling of this horror began with an American intelligence officer, Tim Ellis. He became deeply, almost pathologically obsessed.
Obsessed? How?
The kid sensed the gods stirring, apparently, a growing malevolence beneath the earth, despite official denials from the military and this pervasive electromagnetic interference that mysteriously downed drones.
Drones just falling out of the sky.
Yep, including one Ellis himself sent over Vergita Mountain, a clear sign of some unnatural force at work. His relentless investigations eventually led him to the hidden valley. Imagine a landscape where the very air just thwarts modern technology, hints at a power far beyond our current understanding.
And the impact of this entity's presence is truly terrifying, not just individually, but socially. Our sources describe a wail, either ecstatic or despairing, echoing from the village when the god begins to stir.
Ecstatic or despairing.
Wow. Yeah, a sound that promises either transcendent, horrifying joy or utter, mind-shattering despair, depending on your mental state, I guess. The temple itself isn't some grand constructed building.
Wow.
It's described as an uneven crack in natural limestone. A geological scar that's been augmented by impossibly vast, hundreds of tons blocks, forming subterranean passages that just defy known human engineering. Ancient Hindu statues, their faces defaced and broken within, stand as these silent, distorted witnesses. It indicates a history of reverence that's been slowly twisted into something unrecognizable, a perversion of ancient faith.
The true horror, though, comes with the sleeper's awakening, or even its mere stirring. Ellis, the intelligence officer, he was eventually found nude and completely insane, singing.
Singing? To what?
To an angular black stone slab, atop which lay a shape.
A shape. Just...
Vague, I know. But this entity, when viewed directly or psychically heard, inflicts profound sanity loss on anyone exposed.
Sanity loss, right. That's the mental cost.
Exactly. It's your mind's ability to cope with the horrors of the unnatural. Losing it leads to temporary or permanent psychological trauma. The symptoms detailed are terrifying. Sudden epileptic fits, uncontrollable murderous rages, debilitating hallucinations that warp reality.
Jeez.
The psychic shout from the shape is described as this babbling nonsense that's clearly filled with utterly alien meaning. It just overwhelms and fractures the human mind. And apparently overly sensitive individuals, those with high intelligence or skills in art, occult psychotherapy, they're particularly vulnerable. Suggests a targeted attack on the empathetic or acutely perceptive.
But the corruption isn't limited to individuals, right? It permeates the entire village.
That's the really insidious part. The villagers, who initially seemed helpful and outwardly denied the valley's existence, they become suddenly and inexplicably murderous when the god priest awakens.
Murderous, like all of them.
Seems like it. They are described as immune to fear, attacking with a mad fury that defies self-preservation. Their subservience to this nameless, sleeping entity is total and ancient. A deep-seated devotion that overrides all individual will despite their outward denial of its existence. It's like a collective psychosis, rooted in centuries of coerced devotion, turning an entire community into an extension of the god's will.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're seeing is how an ancient, powerful entity can lie hidden for millennia, yet subtly influence perceptions, drive obsession in outsiders like Ellis, and upon awakening, unleash this terrifying psychic and physical assault.
Yeah, it doesn't just dominate, it transforms ordinary people into weapons, makes them an extension of its dark will, completely erasing their individual agency and turning their lives into a perverted ritual. This isn't just a monster, it's a fundamental corruption of humanity itself, a slow, insidious erosion of the self.
Okay, from a slumbering ancient god, we now turn to an active, thriving corruption that hides in plain sight. In Hourglass, Oregon, with the Church of the 12 Martyrs.
Ugh, hourglass. Sounds idyllic, doesn't it?
On the surface, yeah. It appears to be this idyllic rural community, home to a thriving religious compound known for its farming and ranching. But beneath this carefully constructed facade, our sources tell us, lies a deep, ancient evil. This church was founded by this charismatic figure, Errol Salzo, who was apparently just a vessel, possessed by an ancient sorcerer named Giles Root.
What's truly fascinating and deeply disturbing here is the sheer longevity and cunning of these entities. This church isn't just a modern cult. It's actually run by an ancient group of warlocks, the Sons of Cernunnos.
Sons of Cernunnos, like the Celtic god.
Seems like a co-option, maybe. Their origins stretch back to 17th century New England. They were alchemists and sorcerers who, after these initial horrific rites involving hidden
Shoggoths, those amorphous protoplasmic things.
The very same.
Yeah.
And the worship of Shub-Niggurath, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, in these black caverns. After all that, they gained long life and postponement of the rigors of age.
So unnaturally long lives.
But their true, horrifying immortality came later, early 20th century. An ally, a scion of Innsmouth, actually linking back to our earlier discussion, discovered a secret in the infamous Necronomicon.
The Necronomicon, of course.
A way to transfer life and consciousness into new bodies. The martyrs, as they call themselves, use these specialized magical candles to house their essences, emerging to possess new, often unsuspecting victims whenever they need a new host.
So it's not just a cult, it's a generational lineage of body-hopping sorcerers, effectively achieving this grotesque form of immortality.
Exactly. Our sources give us chilling examples. Giles Root, who is currently inhabiting the body of Errol Salzo III, and another ancient sorcerer, Samuel Woodman, who resides in the body of a 12-year-old boy named Jake Elliott.
A 12-year-old boy, God, the innocence masking such ancient evil, that's particularly unnerving.
It is. They use rituals like exchange personalities to spy and control, effectively trading places with unsuspecting individuals to gather information or exert influence. And the Ark of Sabaoth, which the cult's host, Errol Salzo, presents to the world as this holy artifact appearing as a black meteorite.
Yeah.
It's actually Silence Root, a half-Shoggoth son of Giles. This isn't just a family affair. It's a deeply inbred, monstrous dynasty of cosmic horror.
Wow. And the practices are incredibly dark, aren't they? Extending far beyond simple worship.
Oh, yeah. The high holy prayers, held weekly for compound residents, they involve violent and sexual rites, often leading to deep psychological and physical trauma. Beyond these ritualistic abuses, our sources subtly revealed through social worker records, they expose this horrifying policy of selective breeding.
Selective breeding? How?
About 75% of babies born at the compound since 1995 have been boys. It's a clear, sinister indication of their long-term plans for control and continuation of their male-dominated lineage.
That's subtle and deeply chilling.
The cult maintains its profound secrecy through the extreme isolation of the community and the swift, often accidental deaths of former members who try to leave or speak out. Records show former residents uniformly died early from overdoses, car accidents, suicides, other violent crimes, none of which could ever be definitively connected back to the church. Makes their operations virtually untraceable to outsiders.
This raises a crucial and deeply unsettling question then. How do ancient cults like this, with such grotesque practices and long histories, survive and thrive in modern society, often right under our noses?
That's a critical point for understanding their pervasive influence. They do it by maintaining this compelling public facade, one that garners donations and even admiration worldwide, with its idyllic vision of self-sustaining farming and ranching.
The perfect cover.
Totally. They manipulate local authorities, as evidenced by a network of bad cops within the Hourglass Police Department who are actively covering up for the church, ensuring investigations never go too deep. And they exert deep, often unnoticed, psychological and social control over their members, twisting their lives and beliefs over centuries, creating generations of loyal, indoctrinated followers. The current host, Errol Salzo III, presents this earnest, charismatic, entirely believable face to the world. Makes it incredibly difficult for outsiders to ever suspect the ancient, multi-generational evil lurking just beneath the surface. It's a terrifying blueprint for hidden power, a slow-acting cancer on the fabric of society.
Okay, so from ancient slumbering gods and these insidious cults hiding in plain sight, we shift our focus now to threats that are perhaps even more unsettling because they invade us on such a fundamental personal level.
Yeah, right where we live. Our minds, our bodies.
Even our very understanding of the world around us. We're talking about the Laplace equation, the cedar organ, and the terrifying shadow man from the Sweetness case.
These are horrors that don't just kill, they corrupt and transform, often without any initial physical contact, which may be the creepiest part.
Absolutely. These particular sources reveal the most intimate and pervasive forms of unnatural horror, really targeting the very essence of what it means to be human.
Yeah, they don't just kill, they meticulously corrupt.
Yeah.
Transforming individuals into vectors or unwilling victims of something truly alien. Often beginning with just an idea, a sensation, or a perverted desire before it manifests physically. It's a deeply personal form of invasion.
Let's start with the Laplace equation. A true mimetic contagion, a piece of information that literally becomes a disease.
Information is plague. Wild concept.
Discovered by this brilliant young mathematician, Michael Way, this wasn't just a complex formula. Our sources describe it as a mathematical revelation, a vast and roiling reality dancing just behind modern mathematics. It was literally presented as a reduction of the entirety of existence through prime numbers.
Wow, imagine that. The universe, all its complexities and chaos, distilled down to an equation. The sheer intellectual audacity of such a discovery is almost breathtaking.
But it's precisely this profound knowledge that becomes the source of an unimaginable horror. Understanding the equation, even with just moderate skill in mathematics, it doesn't enlighten, it infects.
Infects? How?
It leads to this terrifying progression of symptoms. A creeping dread that just gnaws at your sanity, an intense paranoia where you feel inexplicably watched by stars.
Watched by stars.
It's
creepy.
Horrifying, inescapable hallucinations. And ultimately, this irresistible, profound urge to commit murder, followed by self-destruction.
Good go.
Michael Way himself, the student who found it, no prior criminal history. He became the primary example. He slaughtered an entire family, then shot himself in the face, leaving a spray-painted number sequence at the scene, a testament to the equation's horrifying influence.
Oh, man.
And other cases, like Julius Sward in Germany, a man named Badek, a teacher named Hasselman in the U.S., they followed the exact same horrifying pattern: violence and self-annihilation.
So it's repeatable, a pattern.
What's particularly chilling is how it propagates. The equation spreads through its number sequence, whether it's simply written down, emailed, or even glimpsed briefly on a news report or a whiteboard.
So just seeing it is enough.
Apparently, our sources describe it as having a viral nature that makes it practically impossible to completely wipe out once released. Even a partial understanding or a brief, fleeting exposure to its terrifying patterns can begin to have its insidious, mind-altering effects. Containment is near impossible. It's information as a weapon wielded against the very minds that try to comprehend it.
This raises such an important, deeply philosophical question, doesn't it? What if knowledge itself can be a disease?
Yeah.
The Laplace equation challenges the very notion of understanding, suggesting that some truths, some fundamental revelations about the universe, are simply too dangerous for the human mind to grasp. It implies that true, unvarnished understanding of the cosmos, in some cases, can lead directly to self-annihilation, revealing a crack in reality that our minds are just not equipped to handle without breaking.
It's a terrifying thought. Okay, moving from the purely abstract horror of the equation to something intensely, viscerally physical, we delve into Lover in the Ice and this horrifying concept of biological corruption and perverted desire.
Ugh, yeah. This one's rough.
Our sources describe an unnatural thing cut from the mouth of Albert Kapschka, who seems to have been an unwitting host for this horror. This thing, a cedar organ, later escaped from a Delta green box.
A green box, like storage for this stuff.
Exactly. Highly secretive, heavily secured storage facility for dangerous artifacts. This one was in LaFontaine, Missouri. It escaped after a devastating ice storm. This wasn't just a creature, it was a biological parasite that initiated an unthinkable chain of horrors.
This is truly one of the most viscerally disturbing scenarios detailed in these documents.
Yeah.
The cedar organ itself, it's described as a grotesque phallus dripping with viscous fluids, equipped with 4 serrated bone needles and a pulsing black gill.
God, that sounds awful.
It injects an orange recombinant fluid into its victims. This fluid doesn't just damage, it performs this horrifying biological feat. It rearranges human blood into entirely new DNA.
What? Rewrites DNA?
Yeah, leading to the creation of Amante, a new alien species, and incubi, which are essentially human corpses repurposed into amante wombs, their bodies grotesquely swollen and reshaped for gestation.
Human bodies as wombs. Oh, that's vile.
The organ had apparently been stored in the belongings of a Delta Green agent named Ryan Whitehead since 1981, surviving in hibernation, only to be violently shocked into activity by the extreme cold of that ice storm and unleashed into an unsuspecting world.
The effects on the host? They sound profoundly disturbing, a complete perversion of human nature.
Absolutely. Infected individuals, like the seemingly friendly caretaker Skip Mills, experience this intense psychosexual fugue. All stress, all anxiety, all fear. It becomes inexplicably conflated with intense sexual arousal, making violent acts intensely gratifying.
So violence becomes...
Horrifically, yes. Their skills suffer a net of 20% penalty unless they are directly serving the organ's ends, essentially hijacking their will and abilities. This leads to rampant hedonism, uncontrollable violence, and the active, eager creation of more incubi. Imagine your most fundamental human drives, desire, survival, even empathy being utterly perverted and hijacked by an alien parasite, turning you into a willing agent of its horrific reproduction.
Resisting must be almost impossible.
It costs significant sanity, the sources say, while giving in has the usual devastating costs of violence and self-degradation.
And the ante, the creature fully birthed from these incubi, what are they like?
Equally grotesque and terrifying. Described as resembling a hairless orangutan with a huge circular orifice with concentric rows of teeth used for hooking and sucking prey. They move by loping across the ground on gorilla-sized arms or swinging with unnerving agility from trees. What's more, they're highly predatory, capable of firing wired darts from their bodies that cause instant paralysis, makes them formidable and terrifying hunters. It's a complete biological nightmare, meticulously designed for proliferation and predation.
What's relevant here, then, is how this isn't just a biological attack. It's one that corrupts the most fundamental human drives, desire, and survival,
Completely twist them.
turning them into tools for reproduction and violence for an alien species. An intimate, insidious invasion that leaves absolutely nothing untouched. It's a violation not just of the body, but of the very essence of human identity and will.
It forces us to confront the terrifying fragility of our own biology and psychology, demonstrating how easily our deepest impulses can be weaponized against us, turned inward, and used for inscrutable alien ends, transforming us into something monstrous.
From the biological to the purely psychic, we move to sweetness, featuring the enigmatic shadow man and this profound, insidious psychic drain.
Another deeply personal one.
Yeah. This story centers on Sarah Garrison, a former Chicago police detective and a Delta Green operative. She tragically became entirely consumed by an artifact of unnatural potency, a terrifying object known as the Stone of Yos. Her very being was absorbed and twisted by this alien influence.
The Stone of Yos. That sounds ominous.
It is. It's a truly sinister object, a focal point of immense alien power. It's a large, roughly 160-kilogram obsidian nonahedron.
Nonahedron, 9 sides.
Exactly. Polished to this perfect, unnerving sheen. When it's active, meaning Garrison is inside its consciousness, it emits eerie blue-green highlights that seem to pulse with alien life. Touching it when active drains both power, POW, that intrinsic willpower and psychic potential that anchors your mind, and sanity. So it drains you just by touching it.
Yeah, causing a crazed wrenching of consciousness and otherworldly visions of space-time that can shatter the mind. If it's dark, meaning unoccupied touching, it causes immediate, horrifying disappearance into the stone itself.
Into the stone, like trapped.
Seems like it. A fate perhaps worse than death. This artifact, by the way, bears a distinct mark that signifies Yog-Sothoth.
Yog-Sothoth, the outer god, the key in the gate.
The very same. Said to control the ways between worlds and dimensions, connecting this deeply personal horror to something truly cosmic and incomprehensibly vast.
And when Garrison is consumed by and inside the stone, she doesn't just vanish. She manifests as the Shadow Man.
The Shadow Man. Okay.
A shadowy, otherworldly form that appears near her daughter's house in Tampa, Florida. This Shadow Man is described in our sources as being immune to all physical attacks, effectively transcendent of our physical laws. So you can't hurt it, doesn't seem like it. It moves through the air as if it were water, with this unnatural grace. And it can even travel through reflective surfaces like mirrors and windows, blurring the lines of reality. It communicates, chillingly, via sign language.
Sign language?
That's the twist. It's particularly poignant and truly heartbreaking. The Shadow Man, which unnervingly calls itself Sweetness, converses with Garrison's deaf daughter, Catherine, manipulating her through the emotional bond they share.
Oh no, using her daughter.
Yeah. Garrison's twisted maternal love becomes a tool for the entity, a means to maintain its tether to our reality and to her family. This isn't just about a monster, it's about a mother's deepest love, perverted and used to anchor an alien presence in the lives of her children, subtly draining their sanity and manipulating their reality through a seemingly innocent, desperate connection. It's a tragedy layered with cosmic horror.
That's just awful.
This showcases a horror that operates on a fundamentally different plane, doesn't it? Manifesting through psychic connection and manipulating the mundane world through reflections and deep emotional bonds. It preys on curiosity and connection, slowly draining the life force and sanity from its host and those around it. It's a subtle, pervasive, and deeply personal form of invasion that leaves its victims psychologically devastated, their very identities eroded.
It highlights how the unnatural can exploit our deepest emotional vulnerabilities and attachments, turning love and connection into instruments of its own insidious agenda, operating just beneath the surface of everyday life, twisting the most beautiful human emotions into something grotesque.
Finally, as we navigate these unsettling waters, we encounter a scenario that truly defies easy categorization. A poignant and deeply unsettling enigma that pushes the very boundaries of what unnatural can even mean.
Yeah, this one's different.
This is the profoundly disturbing and ethically agonizing story of the child. It's a mystery that leaves this lingering sense of profound unease, blurring the lines of what it means to be alive.
It absolutely raises critical and difficult questions, doesn't it? About the nature of consciousness, the concept of identity, and the severe ethical dilemmas presented by entities that exist so far beyond our comprehension that we can barely define them. It's not just a puzzle, it's a moral trap, forcing those who encounter it to confront the true other in this utterly innocent yet deeply malicious form.
Our sources reveal that the child isn't what it seems at all. It is, in fact, a reanimated corpse.
Reanimated? Like Frankenstein?
Sort of, but weirder. Given a grotesque semblance of life by being embedded with a glass bauble that contains an alien consciousness.
An alien consciousness in a bauble, inside a dead child.
Yeah. This horrifying process was apparently developed by an 18th century sorcerer named Joseph Curwen, a master of dark arts who sought to defy death and harness alien power. The reanimated corpse serves as an intermediary, a puppet for this alien entity, blurring the lines between life, death, and something far more alien and sinister. Visually, it appears like a child, but there's this unsettling stillness to its movements, a vacant quality to its eyes that just whispers of something deeply wrong within.
Its unnatural attributes must be numerous then, revealing its true nature beneath that veneer of humanity.
Oh, yeah. Deeply unsettling. The child does not eat, breathe, or age, making it this timeless, static horror. It cannot die from normal means and is immune to all sedatives. A chilling fact for anyone attempting to control or calm it.
Immune to sedatives.
Yeah. It speaks an obscure language called Aklo, which our sources mention was once thought to be a 19th century theosophist contrivance, basically, something made up by mystics.
But it's real.
Known to be a genuine, ancient, and terrifying tongue understood by those with profound knowledge of the unnatural. Its heartbeat, when you can detect it, sounds like solid organic matter rattling against thin glass.
That sound.
Deeply disturbing, utterly belies its human form. Most disturbingly, it bears branded runes on its tongue, hand, and foot, which forensic analysis would reveal were burned into the flesh post-mortem, indicating a ritualistic defilement.
Post-mortem branding.
Okay.
And its connection to the eldritch, is it just passive or?
It seems profound and deeply disturbing. The child appears unnaturally drawn to locales where the veil between worlds is thin, or to individuals, particularly Delta Green agents, who are dabbling in the unnatural. It hints at this sensitivity to the unseen world, almost like a divining rod for cosmic horrors.
So it seeks out the unnatural, or those involved with it.
Seems like it. It frequently hears things that only it appears to hear, whispering unseen messages, and it can startlingly reveal dangerous, unnatural things, often in this malicious tone, lying or mocking those it encounters. It's a conduit for terrifying, forbidden knowledge, yet its childlike form masks this malicious, ancient alien intelligence, a predator masquerading as a victim.
The bauble itself sounds central to its existence, the core of this twisted entity.
Absolutely. It's described as a hollow, opaque sphere of gray-blue glass, about the size of a tennis ball. Under X-ray or MRI, it paradoxically appears solid, even though it plainly isn't a realization that can cause a minor sanity loss just from that jarring contradiction.
Solid but hollow.
But here's the ultimate ethical dilemma, the true moral minefield, smashing it. Destroying the bauble causes the trapped entity to manifest as a dissolute being.
Dissolute. What does that look like?
horrifying, amorphous. Roughly several meters in height and diameter, it persists for a few terrifying turns and inflicts attacks of sheer psychic and physical horror before shrieking and vanishing completely.
So destroying it unleashes something worse temporarily.
Seems like it, and this act of destruction, of killing what appears to be a child, costs significant sanity, a profound psychological burden. Delta Green, in its cold, pragmatic horror, simply views the child as the agent's problem, leaving the terrible, soul-crushing choice entirely to the individual.
Just your problem.
What's profoundly relevant here is that this scenario highlights the chilling possibility of non-biological, non-mimetic, yet sentient alien entities that can be trapped and even weaponized by human hands. It blurs the lines between life, death, and consciousness in a way that truly forces a confrontation with the true other, asking us to define what constitutes a life worth saving and what unspeakable horrors we might unleash by trying to end one. It's a deeply disturbing thought experiment made manifest.
It's a profound ethical minefield, demonstrating that some threats are not just physically dangerous, but morally compromising, pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human in a world where such distinctions are constantly challenged and where every choice carries a heavy, indelible cost.
So as we pull back from these incredible and frankly deeply unsettling accounts, it's abundantly clear, isn't it? The world we inhabit is far more complex, dangerous, and saturated with alien horror than it appears on the surface.
Yeah, way more.
These are not isolated incidents, distant rumors, or just flights of fancy. They're visceral glimpses into this constant, unseen war being waged just beyond the thin veil of normalcy.
Exactly. And if we connect all these threads to the bigger picture, what emerges is this profound and frankly devastating understanding of the pervasive human cost, the relentless psychological toll, and the continuous, often thankless struggle required just to keep these horrors at bay. It also starkly reveals the inherent paradox in our relentless human quest for knowledge, especially when that knowledge touches upon the fundamentally unnatural.
The first, and maybe the most evident toll on humanity, is the constant shredding of sanity. We've seen it again and again.
Absolutely. Across all these scenarios we've explored, repeated exposure to the unnatural consistently results in crippling sanity loss, leading to madness, paranoia, deep, often irreversible psychological disorders.
Whether it's the SONNET device's insidious emanations slowly poisoning minds at Platt Air Force Base.
Right. Or the sleeper god's psychic shout from Kali Ghati shattering entire villages.
Or the Laquius equation's mind-bending corruption driving brilliant mathematicians to murder-suicide.
Or the cedar organ's psychosexual influence utterly perverting human desire.
Or the stone of Yos's draining power siphoning away one's very willpower.
Yeah, the human mind is shown to be incredibly fragile against these cosmic forces. Individuals are left broken, haunted, driven to unspeakable acts, their lives irrevocably shattered by contact with the truly alien.
And beyond the mind, there's also the horrifying specter of physical and social degeneration. We've heard of grotesque mutilations, insidious possession,
Forced transformations into the monstrous incubi.
ritualistic murders carried out by ancient cults.
An entire society is twisted by cosmic entities into instruments of their dark will. Individuals are isolated, families are destroyed, even entire communities are turned into something monstrous.
The deep ones at Flyfield, subjected to vivisections, degrading into madness within saltwater tanks.
Or the villagers of Kali Ghati becoming fear-immune, murderous zealots. They're stark and tragic examples of this pervasive corruption reaching far beyond individual minds, infecting the very fabric of human life.
And perhaps the most tragic and ironic element is that constant recurring paradox of human curiosity.
Yeah, our own worst enemy sometimes.
Time and again, humans, driven by this complex cocktail of scientific ambition like MAJESTIC trying to reverse engineer alien tech for military supremacy.
Or religious fervor like the Church of the 12 Martyrs seeking immortality through dark rituals.
Or even pure, unadulterated intellectual curiosity like Michael Way unlocking the Laquius equation.
They almost invariably trigger or exacerbate these unnatural threats. The very act of seeking knowledge, of pushing the boundaries of understanding into forbidden realms, can become a direct, irreversible path to destruction. Not just for the individual, but for everyone around them.
It's a terrifying Faustian bargain, isn't it? Made not just by individuals, but by institutions, with consequences that ripple across reality itself.
And this is precisely where clandestine organizations like Delta Green step in, operating within this desperate ethical minefield.
Right. The cleanup crew, almost.
In a way, yeah. They are the unofficial, unsanctioned battle against these horrors. often picking up the pieces from failed official projects like MAJESTIC's disastrous Deep One experiments or the widespread fallout from the Laqueus equation. They're often described as the uncle nobody talks about in the intelligence community,
Yeah.
the ones doing the dirty, necessary work that no one else can or will acknowledge, let alone tolerate.
And the choices they face, they're not just difficult, they're frequently impossible. Soul-crushing decisions.
Absolutely. Agents are routinely tasked with horrific directives. To remove the vector, which often means killing infected individuals from the Laqueus equation before they can spread the psychic contagion.
Or terminating possessed children like Jake Elliott and Andy Welks from Hourglass, who are no longer truly themselves.
Or being forced to abandon deeply unsettling entities like the child due to resource constraints or insurmountable ethical barriers. There's rarely, if ever, a clean victory in this hidden war. Just a series of lesser evils, a constant weighing of unspeakable compromises.
Their very existence is one of constant, unbearable risk, isn't it?
Totally. Delta Green agents face arrest, public exposure that could ruin their lives, total career ruin, and the ever-present insidious threat of sanity loss, severe physical harm, or total corruption by the very forces they fight.
And nobody thanks them for it.
Exactly. Their tireless efforts are often suppressed or outright disbelieved by official channels, making their struggle an isolating, thankless, and internally unrecognized one. They exist on the fringes, making grim, morally compromising decisions that protect a world that doesn't even know it needs protecting, forever haunted by the horrors they confront.
Wow. What we've explored today, it really is just a fraction of the bizarre and terrifying realities hinted at in these documents, from alien intelligence trying to escape confinement, to ancient gods stirring in forgotten valleys,
To mathematical equations that literally steal your mind.
and parasitic organisms that corrupt your very desires. It's a world where that thin veil of normalcy can just be torn at any moment, revealing the cosmic horrors that lurk beneath.
It leaves us with a truly provocative thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If these hidden battles are being fought every single day, just out of sight, just beneath the surface of our mundane lives, what unknown truths are constantly brushing against our own existence?
Yeah.
What unseen forces shape the world, twist our history, and whisper into the dark corners of our minds? And how much of our perceived reality is simply a carefully constructed illusion? Or maybe a desperate act of ongoing containment by those few who truly know?
Think about that the next time you hear a strange sound in the night, or a news story seems just a little too inexplicable, a little too out of place. Perhaps it's not just a coincidence. Perhaps it's a ripple from something far older, far stranger, and far more dangerous, lurking just beyond the edge of our understanding. A silent war shaping the destiny of us all.
Makes you wonder.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive into the unknown. This has been the Uncanny Valley Podcast.